Good afternoon. Plan 2022, the strategic plan and blueprint for our public school system, maps out the specific path for transforming public school education. Our vision is that all students are educated to lead personally and professionally, compete locally, and contribute globally. And our mission is to provide all students with equitable access to holistic, varied, and high-quality instruction that is culturally relevant and empowers students to reach their full potential. Under the leadership of the Commissioner of Education, officers at the Department of Education have been working through Plan 2022 and executing on the adaptive and technical strategies detailed under the 5 strategic priorities of the plan. However, today, I want to focus on 2 long-term adaptive strategies of Plan 2022, namely Strategy 5.3.5 that states, to ensure college and career readiness, we will review the current structure of schools, primary, middle, and senior, and revise for maximum student success, including the consideration of special school designs to meet unique student needs and interests. Strategy 1.1.4.1 that states, we will establish specialized schools in performing arts, science and technology, or STEAM, sports, trades, and e-learning, or the projected needs of the community. I will now share with the general public the way forward for the execution of these 2 long-term strategies as it relates to 1, the hiring of a system transformation consulting firm, and 2, the key role of stakeholders in this transformation process. Let me start with the hiring of a system transformation consulting firm. Recognizing the depth, breadth, and complexity of our public education system and its entities, during April and June 2019, the ministry hosted an all-day colloquial meetings with the Department of Education technical officers and representatives of the Board of Education, the Public Works Estate section, the Cabinet Office Policy Strategy section, and the Bermuda College. This was done with the objective of developing a proposed vision for school redesign, including options for phasing out middle schools. The colloquium included presentations in areas such as school enrollment historic trends, the physical state of our public schools, the need to reinvent teaching, learning, and administration, school enrollment projections to 2026, harnessing parent and community engagement, the current and capital costs of maintaining public school buildings and new builds and the use of existing buildings for redesign options. There was a consensus on the challenges faced and the opportunities that needed to be created, improved programs and educational experiences for all students. A new level of quality instruction, delivery of public educational services that provide meaningful value and education benefits, with a budget provided, and strong leadership for student success. It was determined to issue a request for proposal, or RFP, for the procurement of consultancy services for the school redesign methodology and the introduction of specialized or signature schools. The RFP emphasized the need to contract a consulting firm with the requisite qualifications and proven experience in school redesign to help develop and design processes for the Bermuda public school system in making the shift from a 3-tier to a 2-tier system. While architecture and the design of buildings may come in mind to some, in broad strokes, school and system redesign refers not only to the structure of the school system and our schools, but more importantly to what happens within our school buildings, which includes high-quality leadership and teaching of our students, curricula and programs that are diverse and meaningful to all of our students, positive school climates and cultures, physical environments that optimize learning and support and challenge the potential of students, involving and engaging students, family, and staff in the development and implementation process of school design and redesign. Today, the ministry is pleased to share that it has contracted with the consulting firm Innovative Unit Australia New Zealand Limited, an organization that is based in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand with a proven track record of more than 15 years experience co-designing processes and methodologies for education systems. Innovation Unit comprises of a diverse group of innovation and content experts, researchers, and service designers with decades of educational experience in a range of contexts that include teaching, school leadership, policy development, and implementation, system leadership, resource development, educational research, and learning and school design. The consultancy will commence at the end of March and extend at least until September 2023. This year is an estimated $950,000 has been budgeted for the consultancy. This consultant firm brings a diversity of experiences to the table which will help us create a unique Bermuda-based solution for the Bermuda public school system that will be looked at with admiration from an international eye. They have experience working with educators and system leaders in the public and private sectors in Australia, South America, North America, Africa, and Europe on innovative strategies that build capacity and encourage the design and implementation of new school models. Some of their consultancy examples include work with organizations like Aga Khan Education Services, the French Department of Education, West Australia Good Start Early Learning, the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership, the Association of Independent Schools of New South Wales, Australia, and the Department of Education in the UK. Innovation Unit was very transparent in underscoring the need for the Ministry and Department of Education to be committed to school redesign from the start of the project to the finish. They emphasized that Bermudians are the guardians of the vision of the Bermuda public school system and essentially control the direction of the system. As such, they expressed the need for established teams of Bermudians who will be dedicated to facilitating the engagement of the Bermudian learning ecosystem at all stages of the process, including the development of school and system redesign teams. We will take ownership of transforming our public school system. It is important to understand that our future system will be designed by Bermudians with consultation with our stakeholder groups and those consults that are being hired to guide all the stakeholder groups through the change management process. The vision for public school education includes elements such as an internationally accredited public school education system undergirded by a culture of restorative practices, a school structure and a day that is responsive to the needs of our students, upgraded infrastructures and improved resources, international standards for our school leaders, enhanced teacher pedagogies and additional staff certifications, improved and expanded support services, the phasing out of middle schools and the introduction of redesigned schools and specialized or signature schools, and improved leadership standards for the Department of Education. For the past 2 weeks, I've held individual meetings with 14 stakeholder groups to share with them where we are with the transformation of public school system as it relates to the execution of the 2 longer-term strategies in Plan 2022, which I mentioned earlier. And also to share about the hiring of a consulting firm to guide the system through this transformational process. This leads me now to share about the role of the key stakeholders in this transformational journey. Many of you will recall the extensive stakeholder engagements that were undertaken during the development of Plan 2022. In addition to the numerous individual stakeholder meetings across the island, key teams were formed, namely an ambassador design team and a strategic review team. Members of those 2 teams reviewed and designed the strategic plan based on the data obtained from those community conversations. We intend to keep the same guiding principles of transparency, inclusivity, and engagement to redesign the public school system. This will directly involve our internal stakeholders, principals, teachers, and education professionals in focus group sessions, and more broadly, education advocates and the general community in strategy consultation meetings throughout the process. Meeting with the 14 stakeholder groups prior to today was deemed as a critical part of this first phase and sets the stage for the next phase. It was critical because it's important to demonstrate our commitment to transparency, inclusivity, and engagement in order to execute the transformational change in our public school system needs. From our meetings, we were left with the impression that there is an appetite for change, and they all pledged to collectively work together to both pursue and achieve that change for the public school system. While there were indeed questions that at this stage could not be answered, we all acknowledge that this was a step in the right direction. There is much work ahead of us for the next 3 years as we work together, and I'm grateful for those stakeholders who have joined us here today. Next steps. During the development phases of Plan 2022, our teachers and principals were authentically engaged in the working strategy sessions used to design thinking methodology. This approach provided these two critical stakeholder groups with opportunities to contribute in a very meaningful way during the Plan 2022 project. Many teachers and principals were formally trained to facilitate focus groups and focus group sessions, and we are now looking on how we can use the expertise already developed to facilitate sessions moving forward with this project. It is our deliberate intention to provide similar authentic engagement and working sessions during the system redesign project for both teachers and principals. Additionally, over the next few weeks, a parent survey will be launched on the ministry website that speaks to themes of school redesign and transformation models. The survey results will be used to shape collaborative working sessions with parents to ensure that the expectation of parents on how we deliver education is captured moving forward. These type of parental engagement sessions will be an ongoing process during this transformational journey. We will advertise parent sessions on multiple platforms to capture wide participation. A governance team will be formed to facilitate the project management process and ensure the continuance of the school design and system transformation project. This team will be led by Ms. Lisa Smith, the Interim Director of Educational Standards and Accountability in the Department of Education. Confirmed team members include Mr. Philip Butterfield, CEO of Bermuda First, Mr. Javon Roberts, Deputy Chair of the Cedar Bridge Board of Governors, and Ms. Laurel Burns, mentor teacher in the public school system. We are currently looking to have other members join this team from within and external to government. In closing, I would like to emphasize that consultation and engagement will be critical moving forward to make this transformational journey a success. We will put our children and our future first. It only takes one generation to transform an education system. Let our generation be all of us. Now, I will take questions. Paul's by himself today.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Rabain, I guess to begin with, so Innovation Unit Australia was the successful bidder of the RFP. I'm curious, how many other proposals were received?
There were 2 other proposals received.
Okay, can you talk a little bit about who those other proposals came from, where they've done work, stuff of that nature?
The 2 other proposals that were received were not deemed adequate, and the proposal from Innovation was the one that made it past the first vetting stage.
So it was the only one that actually met the
It's the only one that met the qualifications. But I do want to add that we also headhunted and sent it out to multiple organizations that had experience in doing this.
Okay. So aside from the fact that you've just said that Innovation Unit was the only, I guess, bidder that met the requirements, why were they ultimately selected? What is it that they are going to bring to the Bermuda public school system?
They're going to bring a system of change management, as I mentioned within the statement. They have over 15 years of experience of doing exactly what it is that we need them to do, and that is to help the teams that will be forming the vision for education moving forward to realize that vision.
Something from your prepared remarks here, we will take ownership of transforming our public school system. I'm curious, what will happen in instances where recommendations made by Innovation Unit, pardon me, ideas and suggestions that they might make don't find favor with Bermudians, whether it be stakeholders, other people involved? Talk about how that relationship will work.
Well, we anticipate that we all have concluded that this will be a very difficult process as we move forward, and not everyone will be in agreement with what is being put on the table. Mm-hmm. However, if I use a quote that's been utilized a lot during our stakeholder meetings, having respectful disagreements allows us to come to a position that we can all agree on moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. From the back page of your statement, you reference a governance team.
Yes.
One of the people you outline is Mr. Philip Butterfield,
Yes.
CEO of Bermuda First. One of the recommendations made by Bermuda First was the establishment of an independent education
Mhm.
authority. I don't see anything about that in here. Can you talk about, is that still something that's being considered? How does that consideration work within this framework you've...
Where we are now, Paul, is we have selected the consultant that we're going to work with. As we move forward with this process, we will add more information for the public as we move forward. The Bermuda First Group has made more than one recommendation. Yes. of an education authority. And if you look at the 20, I believe it's around 18 recommendations, only one of them is not currently in train, and that is the creation of an education authority. So I think some credit needs to be put where the Department of Education has responded and has put the motions in place to actually execute those recommendations of Bermuda First. The idea of an education authority is something that is still being discussed and still being fleshed out with Bermuda First to see if it is something that is particularly right for Bermuda. As I said in the statements, we are looking to create a system that is right for Bermuda. Mm-hmm. And not something that has just been transplanted from somewhere else. Sure. So if it is right for Bermuda, it is something that will be considered and implemented.
Sure. Maybe my final question. From that same page of your statement too, you mentioned meetings with 14 stakeholder groups. Mm-hmm. And you said that there had been some questions which at this stage could not be answered. Can you tell me a little bit about what questions have come up that it's not the right time to answer?
Well, similar questions like, will there be an education authority?
Okay.
We haven't gotten to that stage yet. Questions of how many signature schools would there be? How many primary schools would there be? Those are questions that need to be fleshed out and proper consultation taking place, because as we stated in the statement, this has to be an inclusive process as we move forward. And the only way we can have inclusion is to ensure that our stakeholders, that includes everyone you see standing behind me, plus others in the community, such as parents, the unions, etc., and our teachers, of course, they have to be able to give some input on what is the system that they want. But rest assured, nothing that we do will be outside of what Plan 2022, our strategic plan for education, points us in the direction to do.
One additional question not related to today, if I could. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. It follows on the press conference given by Mr. Burt this morning. Mm-hmm. On coronavirus preparedness.
Sure.
Mr. Burt said today, and I quote, the Ministry of Education has an existing plan for health-related events like this, which is being revised in the event that we will need to deliver curriculum to students outside of the traditional school classroom setting. Can you provide a little bit of detail on what that contingency plan, I guess, is?
Well, the contingency plan that we're working from is the plan that was formulated when we were dealing with the H1N1 or SARS scare. Mm-hmm. And we're in the process of reviewing that plan. And as we do with everything else, we've asked for input from our teachers, from our principals, from the Department of Education, as we modify that plan and get it ready to be released to the public. But rest assured that we do have a contingency plan that's being worked on and will be ready within the next few days.
And does that allow for education to continue if and when schools had to be shut down?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And I guess my final question, any decisions about potential school closures or the like, those will be coming, are those made by the health minister and then acted upon by you?
That we will act upon as you heard in the press conference earlier, we'll act upon the medical data that we receive from the Department of Health.
Okay, appreciate that, Minister.
Thank you.